There's a common saying when something happens, especially something really disappointing or traumatizing, to get back on the horse. And there's a lot of wisdom in this saying. It speaks to determination to overcome negative emotions, whether they're embarrassment or fear or any sort of past pain. What is actually being promoted with this idea is the resiliency to achieve success after setbacks. Very important concept, and it can apply in all sorts of contexts and situations. But like with most things, understanding the nuance of how to put it into practice and when is important for mental and emotional well-being. So there are times when it should be put into practice and times when it shouldn't, and it really depends on the individual. That is what is going to make sure that you're using this concept in a healthy way, in a beneficial way. So I'm going to talk about this in terms of public, safe, easily accessible locations where something unpleasant happened. Because that context is one of the most common and it's one of the most easy to practice, to see how things go. And it's also one that I've had a lot of personal success with. So the idea is something shitty happens and you avoid the place where it happened. Very natural reaction. Most people will do this at some point in their lives. But that behavior, whether it's over something really small or something really big, will maintain that incident as the highest stress priority in your mind. It will be linked with that location, and unless you do something to counteract it, that incident is going to remain fixed, connected, tied to that place, basically forever. Anytime you think of that location, anytime you go to it, that incident is going to be the first high stress point that comes to mind, because negative memories are very insistent. Going back and revisiting the location when the incident isn't happening changes the overall context. It gives you something else to hold on to. You're changing how you relate to the space by adding experiences, good or neutral, hopefully not more bad, but I mean, in that case, hey, at least maybe something different. But adding experiences to that location dilutes the effect of what happened because you're just adding things around it. There's a couple of ways to visualize this. One is like an abstract painting where every dot is like a different scenario, a different incident that happened in your life. And as you go through your life, you're always adding little dots. And then eventually the big picture of your life with all these different colors, all these different impacts. Whatever bad that has happened to you takes up so little space because there's so much more to you. There's so much more to your life, the good, the neutral, or a giant pot of soup where if there's an ingredient that you don't like the bad incident, if there's an ingredient you don't like, the more other things you add in there, the less you are going to notice that ingredient you hate. So it'll have less of an effect. Everything else overpowers those bad incidents. So adding to yourself and your experiences makes each individual piece, good, neutral, or bad, smaller by comparison to everything else. And then the things that you put effort into, the things that you consciously focus your life around, those are the things that get really big. Those are the things that become more noticeable in your picture or pot of soup. So in this context, you are adding more experiences to that location so that your mind has different things to focus on. It is extremely effective, especially when doing this consciously, when you know what's going on, you know what you're doing. It helps you feel more in control of whatever horrible thing happened to you. Again, whether it's something small or something really significant. But the nuance comes in when deciding if it's right for you. Because depending on the person and depending what happened and when it happened, sometimes it's the right choice, sometimes it's not. Some people are going to feel stronger or inspired when they hear things like this. But if it's something super traumatic that just happened and every time you try to make yourself go back to that location, you end up having a meltdown, obviously don't do it. Recovery time is a thing. Give yourself some grace. You need time away. You need time where you're not reminded of it. And eventually, when you work through different stages, this could be something that could work in the future. If this doesn't sound good, if this is sounding like way too much, turn this video off. You are not emotionally ready for this stage of the process. But if this is sounding inspiring or empowering, then you're likely in a phase where you can start to take your power back from these places that hold power over you. It can be a big step, especially the first time you do it consciously, where you know what you're doing when you go back in there. If you feel like you're ready, go back in there and start adding new experiences, new memories to that location. If it means something to you, if you feel like this is something you're ready for and that is worth your time, go and revisit those places. Even just in pictures. Some places are just impossible to revisit, but looking at pictures or even recalling memories and just imagining the space, adding different memories to that location in whatever way you can change how it triggers you, how it affects you, what kind of sway it holds over your mental and emotional well-being. This practice can show how much you've grown or how much stronger you've become. I've had a lot of personal work and volunteer experience where this concept, this process, has come in very handy. So I have personally used it. I've seen the benefits. I've seen how effective it can be to do this. No matter who you are, you're likely going to have some very stressful situations in your life. And it's important to have a process that helps you deal with everything and gets you back to baseline. What is normal? How were you affected? How do you get back to normal or even stronger? The point here is personal resilience, the ability to bounce back after something happens, where the things that happen to you, even the negative things, are still adding to your sense of self. And if you practice this, if you think about it, if you make it part of your strategy for dealing with life, you can bounce back even better than before. It can be such a powerful experience to realize that something doesn't affect you as much as it once did. And it's because you're either a stronger or more flexible or just a bigger person that now that thing seems small. This practice changes perspective and shows you how far you've come, how much progress you've made. And of course, there are going to be cases where people don't want to overcome something. They don't want to deal with it. And that's okay, but it shouldn't become a pattern. Because if it becomes a pattern of just avoidance and not dealing with these things, not processing the events, then you are just limiting your world. You are keeping yourself in a box. And with any of these psychological tools, practice makes you better at them. So you become more comfortable, you become more familiar with how things go, how you respond. And then eventually you realize that you can handle pretty much anything. And that's a really good spot to be in. The next time something happens, you're already strong, you're already flexible, you've already cultivated this skill in order to deal with whatever comes next. So hopefully this was helpful. Let me know if you've tried this, if you've tried other things, how well do they work for you? And hopefully luck is on your side so you rarely have to use these techniques. Bye!